Yes, I can light the whole universe. I am different, I am purpose, I am brilliant. Yes, I feel it.
So I'm sitting here, man, let me tell you, North Carolina is dreary. Have you ever like traveled and tried to get away from your weather pattern and then just wind up in another just dreary ass weather pattern? So I wanted to, visit because I wanted to get away from the cold Chicago, and I wound up in the wet, kind of dreary North Carolina. So anyway, here alone, he had to run, in the hotel room. And I decided, at first I wasn't going to film while I was here, but then I said, what the hell, let's film. Let's do some shit. Let's do some shit. Let's do some shit. So I wanted, this has been in my head, things I haven't done this month and things I need to do, and just some conversation. I wanted to talk about a few things. So I'm going to start off the top with what's in my head, what I wanted to get out, and go on to some other topics that are up in here. I was thinking about inspiration, creativity, and things like that, and not just from the YouTubers sphere, world, but just in general, because I think that people don't live necessarily inspired lives or creative lives. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that you got to be out here like painting, masterpieces, or writing, the greatest American novel or anything. But I think that so many people are so unhappy with their lives because they're just not inspired to do something different. They're not inspired to like make that change. And we kind of get lost in ourselves, and we get lost in our heads, and we don't move past that part of us and become inspired to do more. And I'm saying that because, for instance, February has been a shitty month for me. And not from the standpoint that a whole lot of horrible things have happened to me. It has been kind of stressful. But I also know that wintertime wears me out. I am affected by the seasons, and that's probably why I need to move to someplace that's warmer, because wintertime wears me out, the cold and everything. And I know by February, I'm kind of done with it. I'm just done, and I can't find the inspiration. If you hear that, I'm I'm near the airport. I'm like a few minutes away from the airport. But anyway, I don't find the inspiration. I'm just like, I could just sit in my room and watch Netflix for hours. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. And so because of that, my channel has suffered this month more than it ever has. And, other things going on. And so, about my channel and everything, and me being in my head and stuff. And so I'm working on that process. But I also just wasn't inspired to be as creative or even put out the content. I have content made. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't like it. And so I haven't posted it. It's like, oh, you need to redo it. I mean, like, I have stuff that needs to be out right now. Isn't out. And I know that this is about that. So I wanted to talk about inspiration and creativity and things, and how sometimes we have to just do some little things to create the inspiration. You know what's driving me crazy is this right here. I hate things like in the background, like things like this. So let me move this over. But then I don't want, it's like, then you see other stuff. It's like, oh, okay, well, see, y'all just gonna have to see that. Because I can't do nothing about it. Because I know me, I will be focused on that right there. And now I've probably focused all of you on that because I'm focused on it. Disregard that whole conversation. But y'all know I don't edit these. So you just get to see what's in my head. Okay. So it made me start thinking about being inspired and inspiration. And I think sometimes we think of being inspired and inspiration as this huge, bright light that comes over us, when actually being inspired is just being inspired to do something that day. And I think sometimes we're overcritical with ourselves, and we think we're not doing enough. So I challenge everybody who watches this to find inspiration. And it's not saying that you've got to be inspired to start a YouTube channel or to write a book or anything, but be inspired to do something different, to do something more than you've done with your life and your time. You know, being inspired could just be going outside and taking a walk. You know, be inspired to do that. Put on some music, listen to some music, and find the time to allow your mind some freedom to think. And be inspired to change yourself. Like, you know, like my girl Ladessa, for instance, is taking a class that you know, is now giving her focus and inspiration to do things. So find some inspiration to do something more, not just wallow in the existence we are in, because so often we're unhappy, but we don't do anything to change that unhappiness. We don't try anything. We don't, you know, reach out to people. We don't, you know, find new things to do. You know, for instance, if nothing else, go on Meetup, and maybe you can find some people to, you know, a new group to hang out with, to do something that you're interested in. You know, I think sometimes, you know, we don't see the things that are out there, the what's the word, resources that are out there that can help us to find inspiration to do something else, to, you know, broaden our lives. Sorry, that's my lipstick. I'm doing this new little color combination. It'll be on my LuuLuu's list, my favorites for February, because I'm really loving it. Anyway, so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I think that sometimes we think of it as being inspired and inspiration as a much bigger thing than it has to be. And so I challenge you to find a way to become inspired to live a happier life. That's the thing we need to be inspired to do, to live our happiest life. So that's one thing in my head. And then creativity. You know, most of us don't see ourselves as creative, and because we don't, so we try to mimic others, and we lose sight of who we are and what we bring into this world. We all have something, and don't worry if you don't know what it is right now, but be open to things and trying things and find your voice. And I don't mean that in a sense of, you know, social media or anything. I just mean find your voice. Find your voice, be you. And then that's when creativity will flow from you. I think when I stopped worrying about what other people thought of me, when I stopped worrying if other people were going to understand me and accept the way I thought and the things I wanted to do and try for myself, my creative life began. And I'm not saying that I'm that creative or anything, but what I'm saying is that for me, by doing those things, I have become the person that I am, and I like her. And I think that's something that we must all try to strive for. I think that we must all look and find that inside of us, which is our creative spirit. And it might not be what the people around you are going to agree to, or they're going to think makes sense, or they're going to say, oh, okay. And it's okay, because you will find the people who understand you. You will find the joy and the happiness you need within that, without it, when you let go and just let things come to you. You know what? Let me just say this. I'm looking at myself sort of, and there's a mirror right here. And the thing I know I'm not a jet setter or anything, but I know when I travel, I do want to have the things I want to have. And one of the things I just noticed this time around is that I need a really good mirror. I mean, I can carry my lighting, but I need a good mirror, a good travel mirror that's right here, because I didn't get my lashes on and I couldn't find my tweezers. It was a rough day for me. I think I'm gonna have to get a backup set of my favorite, my lash tweezers. And I know I don't need those, but I like them. Anyway, back to what I was saying. And that's why my makeup looks so crazy to me today, because it was far away. I couldn't get up on it. I'm used to having my mirror. You used to having your mirror right here. Right here. I would have actually no, I wouldn't have, because my lighting ain't that great. Anyway. And so that's what kind of was in my head, and I wanted to talk about that, especially the inspiration piece, because I don't mean it. I want people to be inspired for their life, not for making videos or anything. I don't want to just say that, because I'm not just about that. I'm about people being inspired to have a great life and find what inspires you to do that. When I need inspiration, and with that, I'm having to deal with that, because like I said, the winter time really zaps me, and I now am working on being more inspired to continue what I'm doing. Not that I'm not doing it, but be inspired to continue. And the whole viewer thing, I'm getting out of my head with that. I'm working on that. I'm working on my personal goals, which, by the way, I didn't put up my February goals, quite frankly, because it was February and I was just worn out, and I didn't even think about my goals. I looked at my planner, and my planner looked sad and pathetic for February. And now I'm having to like drill down and dig deep into myself and be honest with myself about what I've been feeling in February. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm depressed or anything, but it's just like I know that I lose just all of my energy in February, and it shows. It shows in my product, I consider YouTube work for me, so my work product. It shows in even in the school. I mean, I was just kind of like skating along and doing what I could to get through. And I know March starts to make me feel better because it's closer to my birthday. My birthday's coming up in April. And there is a thing about, and from an astrological standpoint, where like when you come into that last 30 days before your birthday, you tend to be very introspective and you start thinking about your year. And it's a natural thing. And I've always done it. I didn't understand why, but now that I read up on it, it's kind of a natural thing that we do, because it's like we're winding down this year and going to begin the next year. And so I know that I'm doing that, and I'm getting introspective and everything. So I have to make sure that I'm a little focused in March, because I can just get in my head and just stay there. And then in April, I'll be good. My birthday will happen and I'll be like, yes. And I'll be feeling spring-like, because it'll be spring and, flowers are blooming and all that other good stuff. But until that time, I have to like work on that, because you can't lose a month or two. You just can't. You just can't. And so now I will talk about what I have planned, I'm working on, because I am going to have an accountability partner, things like that, to keep me kind of on focus and on what I'm trying to do. And, and what else do I want to say about it? So that's where I am. That's what I know, I didn't do with that. I mean, I have stuff I need to send out. I haven't done it. I'm just off center right now, and I feel it. And so if you feel that way, let's talk about it. If you are feeling that way, let me know, and we could talk about it in the comments and things, or in a live. Sometimes we can talk about it. But I am, I don't know. I'm getting my inspiration back. I am working on it actively. I am, and I wanted to say that. Oh, I don't know what else I want to talk about. I know what else. Okay, so I have this question. You know, I've gotten me a planner, and I've always had a planner, but I've kind of found out about the planner community and everything. And like I said, I'm just curious to know, people who are into the planner community and anything, does it really help you, or are you just in it like the beauty community because you like to buy these things and make things pretty? Because I noticed there's a lot of things about, you know, the setup of your planner and people putting stickers and everything. But I just want to know, are people really being that productive with their planners? Or is it more about the prettiness and the, you know, I'm going to have all the shiny pretties for my planner? Because I found it interesting because a couple of people know, I was like, okay, so I'm into makeup and they're into planners. So they basically do the same thing I do, but they do it on a piece of paper. You know, whereas I buy makeup and I'm onto this, they're into buying planner crap. To me, no shade to it. So I was just wondering. So if you have any answers, what do you think about that? We have a whole plan on infiltrating the planner community. I'm gonna find out. And then, I don't know, I think that's all I want to talk about today. As always, this is not one of those edited things, so we'll see, you know, how it turns out. I will post it up and we'll let it run. It's just one of these little Ramble Fest of mine. It's the LuuLuu Ramble Fest. All right, y'all, have a great day. Be bold, be brave, be fearless, be free.